Okay, let's unpack this. You've handed us a real treasure trove of source material on Greek mythology,
Mhm.
a world born, what, over 2,000 years ago, and it still grips our imagination today.
Absolutely.
Forget just the famous names you think you know. These sources, written down by these incredible ancient voices, they lay out the whole story.
You really do.
From the literal moment before creation, right up through the age of heroes and beyond.
It's quite a scope.
So this is our latest deep dive, custom built for you, really, to navigate that epic landscape.
And it is an epic landscape indeed. The material you've provided is just packed with rich detail, complex characters, dramatic turns, surprising connections.
Yeah.
Our goal here is to guide you through it all, sort of distill that huge scope into the core narrative and, pull out the most compelling insights.
Right. We're going to trace that story from the absolute beginning, following the threads laid out right here in these sources so you get the complete picture.
So let's start there. At point zero, the very dawn of everything, the sources tell us that in the beginning, there was only chaos.
Chaos, like emptiness.
Not the chaos we think of today, more like a vast, empty void.
Yeah. Nothingness. But then out of that, the first beings began to stir. We learn that first came Gaia.
Gaia, the earth, solid.
And Eros, the force of love, right?
That's right.
Attraction coming together.
Exactly. Then, after them, the void gained a bit more definition with night and day.
Which ended that initial darkness, Erebus.
And then the foundations deepened with
Tartarus. Yeah?
the deepest depths.
For punishment later on.
That's the one, the lowest, darkest realm.
And Gaia, she was powerful on her own, didn't even need a partner, the sources say, to give birth to Uranus.
Uranus, the sky, who arched right over her.
Aye.
And it's with Gaia and Uranus that we get the first major family. Their union brought forth the 12 Titans.
12. 6 sons, 6 daughters.
Powerful elemental beings. You've got figures like Oceanus.
The river around the world.
Yeah, the great river encircling everything. Or
Mhm.
Hyperion, the sun, driving his chariot.
His daughter was Selene the moon, wasn't she?
That's right, Selene the moon, providing light in the darkness.
But this wasn't a happy family situation.
Not at all. The sources really highlight Uranus's cruelty. Incredible cruelty.
He imprisoned his own children. Why?
Feared their power, buried them deep within Gaia, within the earth itself.
Inside his own wife. Wow. And a mother's pain. That led to the first rebellion.
It did. Gaia fashioned this formidable sickle.
A sickle, and she gave it to her youngest son, Cronus.
Cronus, he, unlike his siblings, actually had the will to act.
So what happened?
When Uranus next descended to Gaia, Cronus used that sickle. It was a brutal act of defiance.
He didn't.
He severed his father's genitals. They fell into the sea.
Whoa, okay. And here's a striking detail from that. Violence. From the sea foam where, Uranus's remains landed, a completely different being was born, Aphrodite.
Aphrodite, goddess of love and beauty, born from violence and sea foam. It marks the arrival of a new generation of powers.
So Cronus takes his father's place as ruler.
He does. But, as the sources show, he kind of inherited that same fear from Uranus.
Fear of being overthrown himself.
Exactly. He and his sister Rhea, they produced the next generation, the gods, who would become the Olympians.
But there was a prophecy.
There was.
Yeah.
That one of his children would overthrow him, just as he had overthrown Uranus.
And his response was horrifyingly direct.
You could say that.
We're told Cronus swallowed each of his children as they were born. Hestia, Hades, Poseidon.
Hera, Demeter, yes. Swallow them whole.
Oh my God. But Rhea, his wife, she couldn't bear it.
No. She saved the youngest, Zeus, hid him away on Mount Ida in Crete.
And the trick she used, she fed Cronus a rock.
Wrapped it in swaddling clothes. Cronus swallowed it down, completely fooled.
So Zeus grows up in secret, gets strong, and when he's ready, he comes back.
He returns, confronts Cronus, and forces him somehow to regurgitate his swallowed siblings.
Can you imagine that scene?
Yeah.
Wow.
His brothers and sisters now free and aligned with him. So Zeus rallies them against the ruling Titans.
And this kicks off the Titanomachy.
That massive conflict, it raged for 10 long years.
And they didn't win it alone, did they? The sources emphasize allies.
Crucial allies, yes. They freed beings from Tartarus, victims of Uranus's earlier cruelty.
Like the 100-handed giants?
Them, and critically, the Cyclops.
Ah, the master craftsmen.
Legendary craftsmen. Their contribution was immense. They forged these powerful weapons that just shifted the whole balance.
Right, the iconic ones. Zeus got his thunderbolt.
Poseidon, his mighty trident to command the seas.
And Hades.
A helmet of invisibility. These tools gave the gods the decisive edge they needed.
Armed with divine power, they defeat the Titans.
And the defeated Titans are imprisoned. Where else?
Back down in Tartarus, that deep, dark pit. A recurring theme, huh? Overthrown generations cast down.
It really is. So, with the cosmic order established, the sources shift focus. They turn to humanity.
Mankind, fashioned from clay by the Titan Prometheus.
That's right. Shaped in the very image of the gods.
But Prometheus felt, I don't know, a connection to these clay beings.
A deep connection. He saw them living in ignorance, huddled in caves.
So he gave them fire.
In an act of profound generosity, yeah. Defying the other gods. This spark allowed humanity to emerge, build, create, start civilization.
But this caught Zeus's attention.
It did. The sources show this complex relationship. Zeus wanted mankind to honor the gods through sacrifice.
Okay. And he left it to Prometheus to decide which part of the animal gets offered.
He did. And Prometheus, still favoring humanity, devised this clever trick.
The bull sacrifice trick.
Yeah, he butchered a bull, made 2 piles. One had the good meat hidden under the stomach.
Gross, but clever.
And the other pile had the bare bones, but wrapped enticingly in rich fat.
So Zeus picks the one that looks better.
Picks the fat-covered bones. And he was enraged when he found out he'd been deceived.
So in his fury, Zeus takes fire away from humanity.
A direct punishment for Prometheus's trickery and, mankind's perceived arrogance.
But Prometheus wouldn't stand for it. The sources describe him actually scaling Olympus again.
Sneaking fire back for the divine hearth, yeah. Returning it to humanity, allowing civilization to keep going.
This second defiance, that must have really pushed Zeus over the edge.
Oh, it brought Zeus's full wrath down on Prometheus. The punishment described as chilling.
Chained to a mountain.
And every single day an eagle tears out and eats his immortal liver.
Which then regrows overnight.
Only for the torment to be repeated endlessly. For millennia, some sources say. It's a stark illustration of the cost of defying Zeus.
Especially on behalf of mortals.
Okay.
And Zeus's vengeance didn't stop there. It extended to humanity itself.
It did. He commissioned Hephaestus, the smith god, to create the first woman, Pandora.
Explicitly as a way to bring suffering into the world.
That's what the sources suggest. Pandora was crafted and then gifted by many gods.
Gifts like beauty from Aphrodite.
Charm, yes. Curiosity from Zeus himself.
And speech. And her name, Pandora, meaning all gifts from Hermes.
That's right. And along with these attributes, she was given a sealed box or sometimes a jar.
With a strict warning from Zeus. Never. Yes. Open.
Never. And she was sent to Earth to marry Epimetheus.
Prometheus's brother, the afterthought one.
Exactly. Prometheus had warned Epimetheus, except nothing from Zeus.
But Epimetheus
was utterly captivated by Pandora's beauty. He welcomed her.
And that curiosity, the gift from Zeus, it proved irresistible.
Eventually, the sources tell us she opened the box.
And what happened?
The moment the lid was lifted, out swarmed all the evils and suffering the gods had deliberately sealed away.
Like sickness, greed, war.
Famine, death, old age, they spread across the world. The only thing left inside when Pandora frantically slammed the lid shut
was hope.
Was hope. It's the Greek explanation, really, for the origin of human suffering and hardship.
Okay. And the sources then describe different ages of man.
A progression, yes. Starting with the Golden Age.
This sounds like before Pandora's box.
Seems like it. A time when men lived simply off the land, untouched by old age or hardship. Paradise, essentially.
But paradise didn't last. Then came the Silver and Bronze Ages.
Right. Humanity became increasingly arrogant, neglecting the gods.
And crucially, they discovered metalworking, which they used for weapons.
Exactly. They started waging war on each other.
And this finally pushed Zeus too far.
This escalation of violence and impiety, yes. The sources describe him deciding to wipe out humanity completely. Their relentless lust for war.
And the instrument of this divine cleansing, a great flood.
A massive flood. Zeus called upon his brother Poseidon,
who struck the oceans with his trident, unleashing huge waves.
Massive waves. Combined with torrential rain and relentless wind from Zeus himself, the waters rose until all dry land just vanished.
Devastation. Most people perished.
And those few who survived the initial flood eventually starved. The sources say only 2 individuals made it through.
Hera, Pandora's daughter.
And Deucalion, Prometheus' son.
Prometheus warned them, so they built a ship or a chest.
Something sturdy, yeah. They weathered the storm in it.
And their vessel finally landed on Mount Parnassus, the only peak left above water.
The only one visible. Seeing his cleansing was complete, Zeus commanded the waters to recede.
So they're the sole survivors. What do?
They sought guidance from the gods. How do we repopulate the world? They consulted the Titan Themis.
And she told them to throw the bones of their mother over their shoulders.
A riddle, basically. They figured mother meant Gaia, the earth.
So they threw stones behind them.
They did. And the sources describe how the stones Deucalion threw became men.
And Pyrrha's stones became women.
Literally springing from the earth to begin humanity anew. A second chance after the gods' judgment.
Okay, world resettled. Now the focus shifts back to the rulers.
To the established rulers, yes.
Huh.
Zeus and the Olympian gods, now supreme after the Titanomachy, living up on Mount Olympus.
And Zeus's family tree is, well, complicated is an understatement.
Yeah. Yes, the sources detail his numerous relationships, his divine offspring. His first consort was Metis.
Goddess of wisdom. But Zeus swallowed her. Why?
Heard a prophecy that her son would be greater than him, would overthrow him.
So he just eats her. That's extreme.
Pretty extreme solution. But interestingly, swallowing Metis didn't prevent offspring.
How does that work?
Later, Zeus gets this terrible headache. Hephaestus splits his head open with an axe.
Wait, what?
And out springs Athena, fully grown, fully armored.
Goddess of war and wisdom, born from his head. Wow.
Directly from Zeus's mind, yeah.
Okay. His second wife was the Titan Themis.
Themis, yes. She had wisely sided with the Olympians during the war.
Did they have Olympian kids?
Not Olympians, no, but their union produced other powerful figures. The Fates.
Clotho, Lachesis, and Atropos.
The ones who control destiny. The sources portray them spinning mortal lives, measuring the thread.
And eventually cutting it, suggesting even the gods might be subject to fate.
That's a key concept in Greek, though, yeah. The power of fate, moirai.
So Zeus had many partners, but his seventh and final wife, the queen of the gods,
was his sister, Hera, goddess of marriage and childbirth.
Hera. She's a major figure, respected as queen, but
her personal story in the sources is just dominated by this intense, often cruel jealousy.
Stemming from Zeus's constant affairs.
Relentless infidelity, yeah. Despite being his primary wife, she only bore Zeus, 2 of the core 12 Olympians.
Ares, god of war.
And Hephaestus, the blacksmith god, the others. They came from Zeus's numerous affairs, divine and mortal.
And those affairs are legendary. Zeus transforming himself, like with Europa.
Europa, the Venetian princess. Zeus desired her. To trick Hera, he turned himself into this magnificent white bull.
And lured Europa away, carried her off to Crete.
Across the sea, yes. That abduction had lasting impact. Their children included Minos, the famous king of Crete.
And Zeus honored her by naming the continent Europe after her.
And putting the bull in the stars as the constellation Taurus. So the stories claim.
Another transformation story involves Io. She was one of Hera's priestesses.
Yes. When Hera suspected Zeus's interest, he turned Io into a beautiful white cow to hide her.
But Hera wasn't fooled.
Not for a second. She demanded the cow as a gift, and to prevent any further funny business, she assigned the 100-eyed giant Argus to guard Io.
100 eyes. Perfect watchman. Some always awake.
Exactly. So Zeus, wanting Io free but not wanting to confront Hera directly, sent Hermes.
The messenger god. The trickster.
Hermes used his skill with music, played his pipes, and lulled all of Argus's 100 eyes to sleep.
And then killed him.
Slew him, yes. Free Io from her bovine torment, though her troubles weren't over yet.
And then there's Leto, another Titan Zeus pursued.
And Hera, enraged again, decreed that no land touched by the sun could offer Leto refuge to give birth.
So Leto wandered, persecuted.
Finding temporary rest only on the floating island of Delos. Hera also delayed the goddess of childbirth, Eileithyia, prolonging Leto's labor terribly.
Until the other goddesses intervened.
They finally took pity, retrieved Eileithyia, and allowed Leto to give birth to twins, 2 major Olympians.
Apollo and Artemis.
Apollo, god of archery, light, music, prophecy, and Artemis, goddess of the hunt.
Let's maybe dive into some of their individual stories, the ones that really stand out in the sources.
Good idea. Take Apollo. Besides light and music, he's strongly linked to prophecy, especially the Oracle of Delphi.
Right, on Mount Parnassus, he killed the python there.
Slew the monstrous snake python, yeah. Establishing the site where the Pythia, his priestess, would later deliver prophecies, often in a trance state.
And a moment of pride after killing Python led to another famous myth. He mocked Eros.
He did. Apollo, boasting of his archery skill, mocked young Eros and his little bow and arrows. Big mistake.
That backfired spectacularly. Eros shot 2 arrows.
A vengeful Eros, yes. A golden one at Apollo, making him fall instantly, madly in love with the river nymph Daphne.
He had a leaden one at Daphne.
Making her feel utter revulsion towards Apollo. Total opposites.
So Apollo pursues her, she flees.
Terrified, just as he catches her, she cries out to her father, the river god Peneus, for help.
And he transforms her into a laurel tree.
Into a laurel tree, yes, to escape Apollo's grasp. Heartbroken, Apollo vowed to cherish the laurel forever.
Making its leaves evergreen, using it to crown victors, linking the laurels to achievement.
Undying fame, yeah. That's why we have laurel wreaths.
Apollo's son, Asclepius, is another significant figure, a healer.
So skilled, the sources say, he could even raise the dead.
Which probably didn't go over well downstairs.
No. It upset the cosmic balance. Hades complained to Zeus his realm was being cheated of souls.
So Zeus struck Asclepius down with the thunderbolt.
Had to restore the natural order. Though later, at Apollo's urging, Asclepius was raised again and made the god of healing and medicine.
Shows that complex relationship between life, death, divine power.
Exactly. Now Artemis, Apollo's twin, goddess of the hunt, wild places,
Yes.
Fiercely protective.
Like the story of Actaeon, the hunter who stumbled upon her bathing.
Yes, seeing a mortal glimpse her divine nakedness, Artemis's punishment was swift and brutal.
She turned him into a deer.
Into a stag, yes. And his own hunting dogs, no longer recognizing him, turned on him and tore him apart.
Oof, a grim reminder. Don't mess with the gods, especially in their private moments.
Definitely. Then there's Poseidon, Zeus's brother, ruler of the seas, the earth shaker.
Causing earthquakes, storms, travels in his chariot across the waves, controls them with his trident.
Right. One notable act of vengeance involved King Minos of Crete.
Ah, the bull incident.
Minos promised to sacrifice this magnificent bull Poseidon sent him, but he kept it instead because it was so fine. Big mistake.
So Poseidon punished him by making his wife fall in love with the bull.
Madly in love, yes. A union that resulted in the birth of the monstrous Minotaur. Shows how offending a god leads to terrible, unnatural consequences.
Poseidon also helped build the walls of Troy with Apollo as a punishment.
Yes, imposed by Zeus for some past transgression. And we see his competitive side when he vied with Athena for patronage of a city.
Athens. Right, that competition is very revealing. Poseidon struck the ground.
With his trident, producing a saltwater spring. Powerful, symbolic of the sea, but not very useful for the people.
Whereas Athena offered the olive tree.
The olive tree. Life-giving. The sources note its many uses. Food, oil for lamps, medicine, wood, providing sustenance, prosperity.
So the citizens chose Athena's gift.
They did.
Yeah.
And the city was named Athens in her honor, solidifying her link to wisdom, civilization, practical arts.
The sources also credit her with inventing math and music, patron of crafts.
Yes, connecting her not just to war strategy, but human ingenuity. But she also had her pride.
Leading to the clash with Arachne, the mortal weaver.
Arachne, a young woman who boasted her weaving was superior to the goddesses.
So they had a contest. Athena wove scenes of gods punishing mortals.
Punishing hubris, yes.
Blech.
Arachne, however, wove scenes depicting the gods' scandals and affairs, often with mortals.
And her skill was undeniable.
Astonishing skill. Even Athena couldn't fault the technique, but the subject matter, the audacity.
That enraged Athena, so she struck Arachne.
Repeatedly. Then either out of pity or further punishment, transformed Arachne into the first spider, forever condemned to hang and weave.
And Athena carried a symbol of her power, too, right, on her shield.
The head of Medusa, mounted there after Perseus slew the monster. A permanent warning.
Let's talk Aphrodite, goddess of love, beauty, often with arrows. Central to so many myths.
Definitely. The sources feature several key ones, like the story of Narcissus.
Ah, the origin of the term narcissist. He was beautiful but vain.
Stunningly beautiful, but immense vanity and cruelty. Rejected everyone who loved him, including the nymph Echo.
Echo. She was cursed by Hera to only repeat the last words she heard.
Right, as punishment for distracting Hera while Zeus was pursuing other nymphs, so Echo couldn't express her love fully.
And Narcissus rejected her cruelly. She wasted away until only her voice remained.
But Nemesis, goddess of vengeance, saw his cruelty, his punishment.
To fall in love with his own reflection.
Gazing into a pool, utterly mesmerized by his own image. Couldn't turn away, couldn't possess the object of his love. He just pined away there and died.
And the first Narcissus flower bloomed where he died.
A cautionary tale about vanity. But Aphrodite could also grant true love, like with Pygmalion.
The sculptor who fell in love with his own statue.
Carved a woman, Galatea, so perfectly he fell deeply in love with it. He prayed to Aphrodite.
To bring her to life, and she did.
Moved by his devotion, she granted his wish. Galatea became a living woman, a tale of art and divine intervention bringing perfect love.
But Aphrodite could be petty too, especially about beauty. Which brings us to Psyche.
Psyche, a mortal princess whose beauty was so extraordinary, people started worshiping her instead of Aphrodite.
And neglecting Aphrodite's temples. Ooh, bad move.
Very bad move. Furious, Aphrodite ordered her son Eros to make Psyche fall in love with the most hideous creature imaginable.
But Eros messed up.
The sources say he was so taken by Psyche's beauty, intending to strike her, he accidentally pricked himself with his own arrow.
And fell instantly in love with her.
Instantly. But because of Aphrodite's lingering influence, no one else fell for Psyche, so she remained unwed. The oracle told her she was destined for a monster.
So she ends up in this secluded palace, invisible servants, husband only visits in darkness.
With a strict rule. Never try to see his face. She was happy, but grew curious. Her jealous sisters egged her on.
So she lights a lamp one night and sees it's Eros.
The beautiful god Eros.
Yeah.
But a drop of hot oil falls on him, waking him.
And he feels betrayed because she doubted him.
Betrayed and disobeyed. He fled. Psyche, distraught, sought to win him back, eventually appealing to Aphrodite.
Who's still jealous, sets her impossible tasks.
Sorting grains, fetching golden fleece, even a journey to the underworld for a box of Persephone's beauty.
Which she completes with help. But that curiosity strikes again. She opens the beauty box.
Hoping to use some to win Eros back. Instead of beauty, she finds a death-like sleep.
Oh no, but Eros finds her.
He'd forgiven her. He rushed to her side, woke her, and appealed to Zeus.
And Zeus.
Impressed by Psyche's perseverance, Eros' love, Zeus makes Psyche immortal. They're reunited on Olympus, a story of love, trials, and curiosity's consequences.
We also hear about Eos, the goddess of dawn.
Ushers in the day. The sources say Aphrodite cursed Eos with insatiable lust for mortals, because Eos had an affair with Aphrodite's lover, Ares.
Jealousy again. And this curse led Eos to fall for Tithonus,
A young Trojan prince. Wanting him forever, she asked Zeus to make him immortal.
but she forgot something crucial.
Forgot to ask for eternal youth. So Tithonus aged relentlessly, grew weaker, withered, couldn't die. Immortality became this unbearable burden.
Until Eos transformed him into a cicada.
An insect that renews itself, sings at dawn. A really poignant story about thinking through your wishes.
Then there's Hermes, messenger god, trickster, guides souls to the underworld.
The psychopomp, yeah. With his winged sandals and helmet. He also fathered interesting offspring. Pan.
Part man, part goat. His mother was horrified.
Initially, yes. But the sources say Pan was loved by the other gods for his playful nature. God of the wild, shepherds, flocks.
And he invented the panpipes after pursuing the nymph Syrinx.
She transformed herself into reeds to escape him. Pan, disappointed, heard the wind sighing through the reeds she became.
And got an idea.
Gathered some different lengths, bound them with wax, created the instrument named after him, the panpipes, linking nature and music.
Dionysus next. God of wine, revelry, liberation. Unusual birth.
Very. His mother, Semele, a mortal, asked Zeus to appear in his full divine glory. Bad idea.
She was incinerated.
Instantly. But Zeus saved the infant Dionysus, sewing him into his own thigh until he was ready to be born again.
Making him twice born.
Exactly. His followers engaged in ecstatic worship, finding release through wine, dance, music. A god of joy, but also potential madness.
And he granted wishes, like King Midas.
Midas showed kindness to one of Dionysus's companions, so the god offered him any wish.
And Midas wished for the golden touch.
Blinded by greed, everything he touched turned to gold. Initially thrilled then,
He couldn't eat or drink. Food turned to metal.
and the horror intensified when he accidentally turned his beloved daughter into a golden statue.
Oh, terrible. He realized wealth wasn't everything.
Begged Dionysus to take back the gift. Dionysus told him to wash the river Pactolus.
Which washed away the touch, leaving gold dust in the river.
Precisely. A classic warning against unchecked greed.
Okay, let's take that journey downstairs. To the underworld, realm of Hades and Persephone.
Right. Though it's important, as the sources clarify, Hades rules the realm, but Thanatos is the god who embodies death itself.
Got it. So the path for souls. Hermes guides them.
Often, yes, they arrive at the river Styx, the boundary. There, the ferryman Charon transports them across.
But you need payment, right? The coin in the mouth.
That's the link to burial customs. Paid Charon's fare, no coin, you wander the shores for ages.
And guarding the gates on the other side, preventing escape.
The formidable Cerberus, the three-headed dog.
Once inside, souls face judgment.
By three mythical judges, yes. They weigh your deeds in life. Your judgment determines your destination. There are three main ones.
First, the fields of asphodel, for most people.
Ordinary souls, yeah. Neither exceptionally good nor bad. A rather gray, neutral afterlife.
And after 1,000 years, they drink from the river Leif. Forget everything.
Lose all memory, then get reincarnated. Suggests a cyclical view of existence.
Second realm, Elysium. Paradise.
For heroes, demigods, the truly virtuous. Eternal bliss, life's pleasures. Some accounts mention returning to Earth, but most stayed.
And within Elysium, the Isle of the Blessed, for the best of the best.
Greatest heroes, yeah. Those who maybe achieved Elysium multiple times and chose rebirth. Think Achilles, maybe Odysseus, Helen.
Third destination, Tartarus, the deepest level.
Not just for anyone. Specifically for those who committed grievous sins against gods or humanity. And the overthrown titans are down there too.
This is where we find the famous eternal punishments.
Exactly. The sources list several. The Denaides, the sisters who killed their husbands.
Condemned to fill a leaky tub forever. Futile.
Ixion, who lusted after Hera, bound to a fiery, eternally spinning wheel.
Tantalus, who served the gods his own son.
Cursed with eternal hunger and thirst. Standing in water that recedes, under fruit that rises when he reaches, hence tantalize.
And the most famous, Sisyphus.
Cheated death multiple times. Finally condemned to forever roll a boulder uphill.
Only for it to roll back down just as he nears the top.
That eternal, futile labor, a powerful image of pointlessness, consequence.
Also down there are the Furies.
Fierce goddesses of vengeance, born from Uranus's blood. They specifically hunted those who committed family murder, patricide, matricide.
Pursued them relentlessly in the mortal world.
Until they atoned or were driven mad. Emphasizes the sanctity of family bonds.
The underworld also had other spots. Fields of mourning.
For souls who died from unrequited love. And the land of dreams, ruled by Morpheus.
Morpheus, shaping dreams. Origin of the drug name morphine, right? Reflects that understanding of sleep-altered states.
Precisely. Now Hades rules, but he's not always purely cruel. The story of Orpheus and Eurydice shows some pity.
Orpheus, the legendary musician, his wife Eurydice dies. Snakebite on their wedding day.
Tragic. He travels to the underworld to get her back. His music. It's described as incredibly moving.
So beautiful and sorrowful it moved Hades and Persephone to tears.
Even the hard hearts of the underworld softened. They agreed to let Eurydice return to the living world. But one crucial condition.
He had to walk ahead and not look back, not until they were both completely out.
Exactly. Orpheus, overjoyed, led her through the dark passages, but as he neared the exit...
Impatience. Doubt. He looked back.
Just before reaching the light, he glanced back. Maybe fearing she wasn't there, but the condition wasn't fully met.
So Eurydice was instantly pulled back, lost forever.
Lost forever. It's such a tragic tale, often seen as a lesson in patience, trust, and maybe the finality of death.
Wow. Okay, so after the divine realms and the underworld, the sources move into a time when gods and mortals interacted more directly.
Leading to the age of heroes, an era filled with demigods, monsters, epic deeds, a transition time as gods gradually retreated.
And hero lineages often start with some divine event, like Cadmus, brother of Europa.
Right. An oracle told him to follow a sacred cow, found a city where it lay down, led him to the site of Thebes.
But founding Thebes wasn't simple. He had to slay a dragon.
Guarding a spring, yes. Then Athena advised him to sow the dragon's teeth into the ground.
And armed warriors sprang up, the Spartoi,
who fought amongst themselves until only a few survived. They helped Cadmus build the city.
And Cadmus married Harmonia, daughter of Ares and Aphrodite. But she got a cursed necklace.
From Hephaestus, yeah, as a wedding gift, an object that would bring misfortune upon their entire lineage.
And the sources detail those tragedies, a pattern of unavoidable fate for the house of Cadmus, their daughters.
Suffered terrible fates. Semele destroyed by Zeus's glory. Ino driven mad. Agave tore apart her own son Pentheus in a Dionysian frenzy. Atonoe's son Actaeon killed by his dogs.
Which brings us to the most famous tragedy of this line, Oedipus.
Son of King Laius and Queen Jocasta of Thebes. They received that awful prophecy. Their son would kill his father and marry his mother.
So Laius tried to avoid it. Abandoned the infant Oedipus on a mountainside, pierced his feet, hence Oedipus, swollen foot.
But a shepherd rescued him, took him to Corinth. The king and queen there raised him as their own.
Years later, Oedipus seeks answers about his parents, gets the same prophecy from the oracle.
Thinking it's about his Corinthian parents, He flees Corinth to avoid the fate.
And on the road, he gets into a dispute, kills an old man.
Unknowingly, his true father, Laius, fulfilling the first part.
Then he arrives in Thebes, which is terrorized by the Sphinx. He solves her riddle.
What creature walks on 4 legs in the morning, 2 at noon, 3 in the evening?
Man, crawling baby, walking adult, old age with a cane. The Sphinx kills herself. Oedipus is hailed a hero.
And his reward, marrying the recently widowed queen.
His mother, Jocasta, unknowingly fulfilling the whole prophecy.
Their unwitting union, his patricide, it brings a plague on Thebes. The truth slowly comes out, revealed by that same shepherd who saved him.
Jocasta hangs herself. Oedipus blinds himself with her brooches. Horrific.
Exiled, wandering with his daughter Antigone, is this powerful illustration of inescapable fate in Greek tragedy. Hugely influential, even on Freud later.
Okay, shifting to another hero line, from Argos. King Acrisius gets a prophecy his grandson will kill him.
So Acrisius imprisons his daughter Danae, but Zeus desires her,
Visits her as a shower of gold, impregnates her.
leading to the birth of Perseus. Acrisius, terrified, puts Danae and infant Perseus in a chest, casts them into the sea.
But fate guides the chest to Seriphos, rescued by a kind fisherman, Dictys.
But Dictys's brother, King Polydectes, desires Danae. Young Perseus is in the way.
So Polydectes sends Perseus on an impossible quest, bring back the head of Medusa.
Medusa, her story's tragic too. Once beautiful, transformed by Athena into a monster.
Snake hair, petrifying gaze, punishment for being violated in Athena's temple.
That's one version, yes. Her sisters shared the snake hair fate, but were immortal. Only Medusa could be killed.
Perseus's quest seems impossible, but he gets help, divine aid.
Crucial aid. Athena gives him a polished shield to use as a mirror. Hermes provides an unbreakable sword.
And he gets other items from nymphs, winged sandals, Hades' invisibility hat, a special bag.
Winged sandals for flight, Hades' cap of invisibility, and the Kebysis, an enchanted bag to safely carry the head. Highlights the need for divine help.
So, using the shield's reflection, he avoids looking directly, sneaks in.
Decapitates Medusa in her sleep. From her body spring the winged horse Pegasus and the warrior Chrysaor.
Perseus flies back to Seriphos, finds Polydectes still harassing his mother.
Uses Medusa's head, turns the tyrannical king and his court to stone, rescues Danae.
And Athena takes Medusa's head for her shield.
As a symbol of her power, the Aegis. But the prophecy about Acrisius, still hanging there.
Right. Perseus returns to Argos, participates in games, throws a discus.
And it accidentally strikes and kills a spectator, his grandfather, King Acrisius. Fate inescapable again.
So Perseus founds his own city, Mycenae, builds walls with Cyclops' help.
Rules there with Andromeda, who he rescued earlier. They become ancestors to, well, the most famous hero line.
Leading eventually to the greatest hero of all.
Heracles, known to the Romans as Hercules, son of Zeus and Alcmene, a descendant of Perseus.
Zeus intended him to be a great king.
But Zeus's affair just infuriated Hera. The sources detail her schemes right from the start.
Like interfering with his birth, so his cousin Eurystheus became king instead.
Exactly. Zeus swore an oath the next Perseus descendant born would rule. Hera delayed Heracles' birth, sped up Eurystheus's, denied Heracles his birthright.
And Hera's hostility continued, sent snakes to his crib.
Which infant Heracles famously strangled. And there's the story of Zeus putting baby Heracles on sleeping Hera.
To drink her divine milk, granting him power, and creating the Milky Way.
That's the tale. Gave him incredible, though not full, immortality and power. But Heracles also had immense strength and a fierce temper.
Like killing his music teacher Linus with a lyre, an early sign.
A sign of the potentially destructive power, yes. But the central tragedy, the defining moment,
was when Hera drove him mad, causing him to kill his own wife, Megara, and their children.
believing them to be monsters, yes. The sources describe his profound horror and grief upon regaining sanity. Utter devastation.
Overcome with guilt, fearing the Furies for killing kin, he needed atonement.
Desperately, he consulted the Oracle of Delphi, who, under Hera's influence,
Sent him to serve King Eurystheus, the cousin who stole his birthright.
for 12 years, performing 10 labors assigned by the king, without assistance. That was key. Later became 12 labors.
And Eurystheus, cowardly and envious, set him impossible tasks, the famous 12 labors. Let's run through them quickly.
Okay, first, the Nemean lion.
Impenetrable hide. Had to strangle it barehanded. Wore its hide after.
Second, the Lernaean hydra, multi-headed serpent, heads regrow, Poisonous blood.
Nephew Iolaus helped cauterize the stumps, so Eurystheus didn't count this one.
Needed assistance. Used the Hydra's blood later for poison arrows. Third, the Erymanthian boar.
Captured alive, carried back, terrified Eurystheus. Fourth, the Augean stables.
Thousands of cattle, stables unclean for 30 years. Clean in one day.
He diverted 2 rivers through them, genius, but Eurystheus didn't count this either, claimed he was promised payment.
Or used divine aid, the rivers. Fifth, the Stymphalian birds.
Man-eating birds, bronze beaks, used Athena's rattles to scare them, shot them down.
Sixth, the Cretan bull, the mad bull, father of the Minotaur.
Captured it, rode it across the sea. Eurystheus just let it go again.
Yeah. Seventh, the mares of Diomedes.
Man-eating horses. Heracles fed their king, Diomedes, to them. Made them docile. Grim.
Eighth, the girdle of Hippolyta, queen of the Amazons.
She offered it willingly, but Hera interfered, spread rumors.
Led to a fight. Heracles tragically killed Hippolyta to take the girdle. Ninth, the cattle of Geryon.
Monstrous giant, far in the west. Long journey. Use Helios's golden cup to sail.
Stealing the cattle.
10th.
The apples of the Hesperides.
Golden apples of immortality, guarded by a dragon, freed Prometheus for help.
Prometheus advised him to trick Atlas, the Titan holding up the sky.
Right. Heracles offered to hold the sky while Atlas got the apples.
Atlas, their father, could get them. Atlas agreed, got the apples, but then didn't want the sky back.
So Heracles tricked him again, asked him to hold it just for a second.
While he adjusted padding, Atlas took the sky, Heracles took the apples and left. Atlas stuck forever. Some say he became the Atlas Mountains.
Okay, that makes 10 accepted labors. What were the last 2 added?
Ah, right. The 11th was originally capturing Cerberus.
The 3-headed dog of the underworld. Most challenging.
Arguably, Hades allowed it, but only if Heracles used no weapons and returned Cerberus.
Wrestled the monster into submission, brought him up briefly.
Showed Eurystheus, then returned him. So, the 2 labors not counted initially were the Hydra, assistance, and Augean stables, payment divine aid. Eurystheus added 2 more.
Which were, oh wait, the apples and Cerberus were often considered the last 2, making 12 in total, regardless of the counting issue.
Exactly. Completing the 12 labors brought atonement, cemented his status. He had many adventures after, like joining the Argonauts.
But his end was tragic too, tied to his relationships, Deianira, Nessus the centaur.
Right. Nessus tried to assault Deianira. Heracles shot him with an arrow dipped in.
The Hydra's poison blood. Lethal stuff.
As Nessus lay dying, he gave Deianira some of his blood, claiming it was a love charm.
A trick. To get revenge later.
A deadly trick. Years later, Heracles seemed interested in another woman, Iole. Deianira, wanting to ensure his fidelity.
Used the centaur's blood. Smeared it on a robe for Heracles.
Believing it was a love charm. But Nessus's blood was tainted with the Hydra's poison. The robe began to burn Heracles, agonizingly.
Horrific. Couldn't remove it, tearing his own flesh. Deianira killed herself in despair.
Realizing what she'd done, Heracles, in agony, built his own funeral pyre, ordered it lit.
As his mortal form burned, Zeus took his spirit, made him a god on Olympus.
Took his divine essence, yes, apotheosis, commemorated in the stars as a constellation.
The Age of Heroes also includes cautionary tales. Bellerophon rode Pegasus, slew the Chimera,
Became arrogant with success, believed he deserved a place among the gods.
tried to fly Pegasus up to Olympus. That's hubris.
Massive hubris. Zeus sent a gadfly to sting Pegasus. The horse bucked through Bellerophon,
Did he die?
survived, but was blinded, spent the rest of his life wandering alone, a potent warning against mortal arrogance, trying to reach divine status.
So all these hero tales, they culminate in something bigger. Zeus's grand plan.
The sources suggest yes, instigating the Trojan War. Why? To reduce the number of demigods, create a clearer separation between gods and men, and the heroic age.
And the stage for this was Troy. Powerful kingdom, impregnable walls built by...
Poseidon and Apollo, ironically, is punishment.
Yeah.
Key figures: King Priam, Queen Hecuba, noble Hector, Paris.
Who was raised away because of a prophecy he'd destroyed Troy, and Cassandra, the prophetess no one believed.
That's them. Across the sea, Sparta, home to Helen.
Daughter of Zeus and Leda, a most beautiful woman, her suitors swore an oath to protect whoever she married.
She chose Menelaus. The oath becomes crucial.
And the spark, the wedding of Peleus and Thetis, Achilles' parents. Eris wasn't invited.
Eris, goddess of discord, she tossed a golden apple to the fairest. Caused a dispute between Hera, Athena, Aphrodite.
Zeus makes Paris judge, the exiled Trojan prince.
Living as a shepherd, each goddess offers a bribe. Hera, power Athena, military glory Aphrodite.
Offers Helen, the most beautiful woman. Paris chooses Aphrodite.
Aphrodite then helps Paris sail to Sparta. While Menelaus is away, Paris charms Helen, where she's influenced by Aphrodite.
She elopes with him, taking Spartan treasure to Troy.
A huge violation of hospitality and marriage laws. Menelaus calls upon Helen's former suitors to honor their oath.
Assembling the greatest heroes of Greece, Agamemnon leads Odysseus, Ajax, and Achilles.
Achilles, greatest Greek warrior, son of a goddess, invulnerable except
The heel, dipped in the Styx but held by the heel. His participation was seen as essential.
the fleet gathered at Aulis but couldn't sail. Artemis stopped the winds.
Agamemnon offended her, killed a sacred deer. To appease her, he sacrificed his own daughter, Iphigenia.
A terrible sacrifice, yes, to gain favorable winds. Shows the grim cost of appeasing angry gods.
The war then rages for 9 years. Troy's walls hold. A turning point comes when Achilles withdraws.
Offended by Agamemnon taking his war prize, Briseis. Achilles sits out, Greek losses mount,
Until his closest friend, Patroclus, wears his armor to rally the troop.
and is killed by Hector, the greatest Trojan warrior.
Patroclus's death ignites Achilles. Grief, rage. His mother Thetis gets him new armor from Hephaestus.
Divinely forged. Achilles returns to battle, consumed by vengeance, kills Hector outside Troy's walls.
And then that incredibly poignant scene, King Priam begging Achilles for Hector's body.
Venturing into the enemy camp, the sources portray Achilles moved by pity, reminded of his own father, relenting, allowing proper burial, a moment of shared humanity.
The war finally ends. The sources imply cunning, not force. Odysseus and the Trojan horse.
Reference through Odysseus as its maker, yes, that strategy led to Troy's downfall. Greeks infiltrate, sack the city.
The aftermath. Devastating. Cassandra violated in Athena's temple by Ajax the Lesser.
Sacrilege brought divine wrath on Ajax, who perished at sea later. Cassandra herself taken captive by Agamemnon.
And Aeneas, son of Aphrodite, escaped, leading survivors to Italy, his descendants founding Rome.
Linking Roman civilization back to Troy, yes. Helen was reunited with Menelaus, returned to Sparta, lived out their lives, maybe reached Elysium.
But the returning Greek heroes faced varied fates. Agamemnon.
Suffered a terrible end. Murdered upon return by his vengeful wife, Clytemnestra, and her lover Aegisthus.
Which led to more tragedy. His son Orestes avenging him, killing Clytemnestra, then pursued by the Furies.
Until Athena intervened, helped him find peace, ending the cycle of violence in that house.
And finally, the story that wraps up the heroic age in these sources, Odysseus' journey home.
The Odyssey. His arduous, decade-long journey back to Ithaca after Troy, showcasing his cunning, endurance, and the divine wrath he faced.
Especially Poseidon's wrath, starting with the Cyclops Polyphemus.
Son of Poseidon, trapped Odysseus and his men, started eating them.
Odysseus gets him drunk, blinds with a stake, says his name is Nobody.
So when Polyphemus shouts for help, he yells, "Nobody is killing me." The others leave. They escape clinging to sheep bellies.
But Odysseus' hubris, shouting his real name as they sail away.
Huge mistake. Incurred Poseidon's lasting wrath. Plagued his journey home.
Like the bag of winds from Aeolus, men opened it near Ithaca, blown way off course.
And the cannibal Laestrygonians, destroying all but one ship. The sorceress Circe, turning men to pigs.
Odysseus resisted with Hermes' help, stayed a year, got advice from her.
Crucial advice. How to pass the sirens.
Whose song lured sailors to death. Odysseus tied to the mast, crew's ears plugged with wax.
He heard the song, endured temptation, survived, then navigating between Scylla and Charybdis.
Six-headed monster Scylla, deadly whirlpool Charybdis, had to choose.
Lost 6 men to Scylla, the lesser evil than losing the whole ship to Charybdis.
Then his men messed up again, killing Helios' sacred cattle.
Despite warnings, incurred Helios' wrath. Zeus struck their ship with lightning, killed all the men. Odysseus drifted alone.
Washed ashore on Calypso's island, held captive for 7 years.
The nymph Calypso, daughter of Atlas, desired him, offered immortality. He refused, longed for home.
Until Athena persuaded Zeus to order Calypso to release him.
He sets sail, faces another storm from Poseidon, finally washes ashore on Scheria, land of the Phaeacians.
Found by Princess Nausicaa, welcomed by her parents, King Alcinous and Queen Arete.
And it's there, during a feast, hearing a poet sing of Troy, that Odysseus finally reveals himself, tells his incredible story.
Moved, the Phaeacians give him a magical ship, takes him swiftly back to Ithaca after 20 years.
He arrives disguised as an old beggar by Athena, finds his palace overrun.
Arrogant suitors consuming his wealth, trying to marry his faithful wife Penelope.
Who resisted cleverly. Odysseus, still disguised, is recognized by his old dog Argus. His loyal swineherd Eumaeus reunites with his son Telemachus.
Then the climax. Penelope's challenge. String Odysseus's great bow, shoot through 12 axe heads.
Suitors fail miserably. Odysseus, the beggar, asks for a turn, mocked but succeeds easily.
He strings the bow, makes the impossible shot, reviews himself.
With Telemachus and loyal servants, he slaughters all the suitors, reclaims his home.
Finally reunited with Penelope, she tests him with the secret of their marriage bed, built around an olive tree.
The immovable bed. Proof it's really him.
So, with Odysseus' story complete, the Age of Heroes effectively ends. Zeus's plan achieved.
Separation of realms successful. Gods retreat more. The tales pass into myth, preserved by poets like Homer.
And the sources then briefly mention the final stage of humanity, the Age of Iron, our age.
Following the decline from gold, silver, bronze. Yes, the Age of Iron.
Described as one of relentless hardship. Suffering, old age, poverty, sickness, war. Constant, difficult labor needed.
And significantly, the sources note, in this age, the gods have largely retreated. Humanity is left mostly to its own devices.
Facing struggles without that overt divine intervention or the aid of those epic heroes.
That's the picture painted.
Wow, what an incredible journey through these sources, just spanning everything from chaos, the gods, the heroes, all the way to us, the Age of Iron.
It really underscores the sheer vastness, the interconnectedness of Greek mythology. These aren't just random stories. They form this sweeping narrative.
Exploring those fundamental themes, fate, consequences, love, loss, heroism.
Hubris, the human condition itself, yeah.
And that's why these tales, recorded thousands of years ago, still resonate so powerfully today. Foundational narratives.
Absolutely. They've shaped so much of Western art, literature, psychology, you name it.
So, as we reflect on all this, that final image the sources present, this Age of Iron, humanity facing hardship, largely alone, what does that perspective from ancient Greece suggest about our own struggles today? It's a provocative thought, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
How did these ancient stories of flawed gods and striving heroes continue to inform our understanding of resilience, maybe fate, what it means to be human, especially in an age supposedly left to itself?
A lot to think about there. We hope this deep dive has brought these incredible ancient stories to life for you.
We could pull on those threads. There's always more to discover.